Thank you. Reverend Ian Hayter will give prayers.
We offer to you, O Lord, the troubles of this day. We lay down our burdens at your feet, to give our sins and give us your peace. Loving God, we thank you for this district, for all who live here, work here, and visit here. We thank you for its vibrancy and vitality, for its customs and culture, for its history and its future. We pray for the peace and prosperity of this place, and we ask that all members of this community will be able to share in that, and that none shall be disadvantaged or disenfranchised. Bless all who have been given the privilege and responsibility of serving this community through the district council, both elected and employed. And we pray for the help and guidance of your spirit in all the discussions that take place in committee, in cabinet, and in this full meeting here this evening. May all that is said and done be influenced by the values of justice and righteousness, and for the good of all citizens. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
By way of welcome, I will say at this stage that if anybody would like to remove a level of clothing, they may want to do that. Try to be non-sexist about it. And in view of the rather unusually warm temperatures, we might just have a 5-minute break at some time during the proceedings, but we'll see how we go on that. Plan to get on through a few items before we do. The first item is apologies for absence. I'll hand over to Mark.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies have been received
from councillors D. Cross, Barnett, Birch, E.D. Gwilt, M. Wilcox, S. Wilcox, and Westwood.
Thank you. Any other apologies we need to record? No. We'll go on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Nobody's declaring. We will mention something under the item on the governance. There might be a bit of guidance from Mark in terms of how parish councillors might want to consider their interest on that particular item, but we'll get to that stage when we do. Item 3 is to approve as a correct record the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 3 to 8 if you're following it on the PDF. Are they acceptable? They have been moved. Okay. Are there any matters arising? No? Okay. We'll go on to Chair's reports. There's a few things that have happened since the last meeting. I was delighted, and I'm sure other people would have been, to go to the Platinum Jubilee events. I think when I counted on the website the number of closures that had taken place during the weekend, it was about 24 road closures due to street parties, which is a fantastic effort by the district. I was very pleased to see that. And I was pleased to see it was across the piece. It was covering the whole district, a number of street parties that took part. And obviously, the better weather was at the start of the weekend. I felt sorry for those who held them on the Sunday because the weather wasn't so good. But certainly the ones that I went to, they managed to curtail their efforts on the latter part of the weekend. It was still enjoyable for all. The other thing I will mention is the district service. Reverend Ian Hayter is here, and thank you to him for a service which was well remarked upon by a number of people. We had the visiting boroughs and districts, and they were very pleased with the service, fully enjoyable, a very good welcome by Wade Street Church. And I was delighted that we had such a good participation from members of council and across the piece. Birmingham were well represented. We had a number of the parishes there. And I also think that it was good that we had the ex-civics involved. And it's something I would recommend to future chairmen. The former civics really enjoyed having a place to, a piece to play on that. And I know that Councillor Powell is a current civic, but he, on behalf of the former civics group, read one of the readings at the service, and that went down well as well, because the former civics really enjoyed being involved. And then the last thing I will mention is Easy IT, my charity for the year. There has been some developments in terms of some of the lobbying that the group has now been doing, which I won't go into in a great detail. But one of the things I will say is that I've now met with Claire Peake, who's the customer service manager within the customer service contact centre, and she is going to use the contacts that I've given her to feed in people who've got difficulties who contact the contact centre and say, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And that hopefully will lead some of the people who are residents of an elderly nature who struggle with IT to get some help. And as you know, it's a voluntary service, so I'm pleased to be able to offer that. Okay, we'll go on to item 5, which is the report of the Leader of Council on Cabinet decisions. And we have a variety of meetings to report on, 17th of May, 7th of June and the 11th of July. Can I pass over to the Leader?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is the report of the Leader from Cabinet meetings held on the 17th of May, 7th of June and the 11th of July, and Cabinet member decisions for noting. I'll take them meeting by meeting and item by item. First of all, 17th of May, the Being a Better Council commercial structures and trading activity. On to the meeting held on the 7th of June is the Money Matters 2021-22 review of financial performance against financial strategy. Procurement Matters Update 2021 to 2022. Nature Recovery Declaration. Staffordshire Sustainability Board Climate Change Vision and Pledge. And the meeting held on the 11th of July, medium-term financial strategy, the procurement of local council tax support scheme, permission to consult, and then on to Cabinet member decisions, which I'll take as a whole.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any comments on those? Which then brings us to item 6, which is the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I call on Councillor Norman to report.
Thank you, Chair. Despite my section not being involved, not having a date, I wish to move the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 15th of June, that the move proceedings of the special meeting, trying to use the Employment Committee meeting to use for the one above. But basically, I want to move the minutes of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee held on the 15th of June and be received and where necessary approved and adopted. At least I think it is.
To second those, Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Very grateful, Chair. The first item is present. Second one is apologies for absence. Item 2 is the declarations of interest. 3 minutes of the previous meeting. 4 terms of reference. 5 is health matters.
Councillor Evans.
Seems quite strange having to stand by the side of the person who's moved it. But I recognise that these items are items that are looked at by the Health and Social Care Overview and Scrutiny Committee at the county. But I'm really grateful that after a number of times, it now looks as though the maternity unit at Samuel Johnson is going to get a temporary reprieve. I hope that it will not just be temporary, because it's important that for people travelling, having to travel a distance, particularly if it's a straightforward delivery, it is much better if they can actually access Lichfield for that. Because if you live in Burntwood, it's quite a long way up to either Burton or Derby. And so much the better. And I also note that the George Bryan Centre, which again is an issue that has concerned a number of us for a long time, is going to be looked at, because that is an important issue, particularly with the number of mental health issues there are across all ages. And I'm particularly concerned about young people, as I've said before. So that those kind of things, together with the women's health strategy, are really vital things that we need to ensure are discussed at the county. And because it can really make a difference to people's lives. And it is vitally important that we do support people who do need help on any of the issues that I've discussed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. You mentioned a straightforward delivery. Having been at Messier 3 times, there is no such thing. I'll pass on to Councillor Ray next.
Yeah, I was just going to follow on actually from what Councillor Evans was saying about the George Bryan Centre and the lack of CAMS facility. These are really serious issues for our people, especially young people coming out of the pandemic. I don't know, I suppose 2 points. One is just, I've just heard the council do all it can, I know it's not going to skip the health provision, all it can to put pressure on the health authorities to improve the CAMS provision in this district. And also there is reference to a meeting on the 30th of May. Has that been rescheduled? That seems really important so that we maintain pressure and maintain momentum with getting proper CAMS provision in our area.
Thank you, Councillor White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I need to declare an interest because I'm now co-chair or joint chair of the Integrated Care Partnership across Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. For members' interest, the clinical commissioning groups ceased to exist on the 30th of June, and the Integrated Care Partnership and the subordinate Integrated Care Board took over. Those points that are raised this evening are duly noted, and in particular, CAMS provision is particularly close to my heart, I have to say. But it's fair to say that across the district, it appears as though access to primary care and secondary care is not what it should be. And we continue to lobby hard to try and do something about that, because we do need provision that is accessible to all when they need it. And I concur with Councillor Ray's points about children and adolescent mental health services. It certainly needs to be improved.
Thank you, Councillor White. Any other comments on this particular item? No, go on to item 7, which is the minutes of the employment.
I believe that help.
Oh, sorry, you
Could respond at a brief, so if that's okay, Chair. But, yeah, there's more than just Samuel Johnson as a maternity unit in the county that has been looked at again. The Samuel Johnson unit should be open at the end of December, and there will be a review of progress, because I'm not sure that the case for reopening it is as strong as some people would want and hope, because it would be a in-demand service. But I did attend the Health Scrutiny Committee yesterday on behalf of Mike Wilcox, who's away, and I was certainly putting in a report to members from that, as Mike would have done had he been there. I'm not sure about the George Bryan Centre there. I can certainly reply to Councillor Ray personally, if I can find the information on the report. I could look it up on the tablet, but I know I'll lose my place, so I'm not going to do that. And certainly the matters that Councillor White mentioned, there are a number of reports in there, and very good presentations, but questions were asked, and that's what scrutiny is about. So there's quite a lot of information there. It applies to all areas. And I was impressed that the chair of the committee did actually talk about making sure that the district and borough councillors in the county at this level were informed about a number of those items. So that was good, and we'll get feedback on that, Chair, if that's helpful.
We've got Councillor Cox to speak on this item.
Just
Mention to Councillor on the George Bryan is actually will be on our work programme on the 1st of August of this year. That's helpful.
And back to you, Councillor Norman.
No, that wasn't helpful, because it looked like I didn't know, because I was just saying that. I was there, I'll have it in my notes. I'm actually here just for the Health Scrutiny Committee of this district council. Real great, that really. He did leave early for me, by the way. Item 6 is the Corporate Peer Challenge 6-month review. And then 7 was the report we had on the Council Community Fund. And well, I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a matter for accuracy, if I can. I think the bullet points there are a really good description of what we talked about. But I know one of the things I raised was whether we can put something onto the website so that groups who are applying can look at maybe groups of wards. I know, for instance, I was contacted by a community group who operate across the city of Lichfield. There's no option for all Lichfield city councillors. Conversely, all Burnwood councillors or potentially other groupings that might be available. So I think that's a matter for accuracy if we can.
Okay, is that happy as a matter of accuracy, Councillor Cox? Oh, sorry.
Yes, we hope to launch by the end of next week, the next second year, and I'm waiting to see all the changes just to confirm it. But we're very much on the case, and I'm sure that that is included.
Back to Councillor Norman.
Thank you. Yes, I think that is accuracy there. That is to say that Councillor Robertson did raise it at the time. And I get a draft of these minutes, so officers are innocent, and I didn't spot it at that time. So hopefully we'll take that into account. Item 8 is the economic prosperity strategy and the action plan. The most important part of the action plan as well.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Not really a question with you, Councillor Lawler, but maybe for the cabinet member. It's a point I've raised before, with regards to economic prosperity. It seems that this district has an enormous amount to offer when it comes to the government policy of levelling up and bringing white-collar jobs out to the regions. Obviously, in Wolverhampton, there's the levelling up office, which brings an enormous amount of employment and economic prosperity to that city. What are we doing in this district, with this council, to work with government, to lobby government, to persuade them that Lichfield is well suited for a government type work? We have premises, we have the Police Mutual building, which is empty, can house 300 people, and we have the skills in this district. A lot of people do administration, managerial, professional office work, and I just urge the council, I'd like to know what we are doing to place that agenda where the government is wanting to move jobs and economic activity out of the southeast into the region.
It's obviously reports from this particular committee, but Councillor Cullen, you have to answer.
Just on behalf of the cabinet member, if I can assist, I think that make a point that Lichfield is very much the place that the government wishes to level up other areas up to. This is why we're in tier 3 of the Levelling Up Fund. Lichfield is a beacon of economic activity throughout Staffordshire. We know that people who live within Lichfield district earn much higher than average salaries on average. We were just discussing this morning actually about how we might or keep a very close eye on recent shuffles in government about who will have what ministerial position in the coming months to come, to ensure that we can lobby them on a personal basis. But also we've got a very active economic development team who are very much focused on ensuring that Lichfield, as you quite rightly say, as a small city, very accessible to London, is prime position for taking some of those jobs here. We know that as part of the Birmingham roadside development, we're going to be having grade A office space on there, which would be absolutely ideal. So I think we have got plenty of things in motion to see the vision that Paul Ray, or Councillor Ray quite rightly sets out.
Thank you. Back to Councillor Norman for the report.
I think you're alluding to that, Chair, which is that it is a scrutiny report, and certainly all members are invited, well, that's not the cabinet, to submit any ideas or questions to the scrutiny committee, even if they're not a member of that committee, would like to be there, so we can follow that up in future meetings.
Councillor Robertson, is that on this point? Yeah, Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair, and if they get up now, it's making me hot. Thank you, Chair, and apologies, boss. Just another quick matter for accuracy in here again. Again, love the bullet points, really clear, really easy to see. I'm going to say it again, really glad to see that we've mentioned the focus on light manufacturing and wages in there. Just around the bullet point on the more specific targets capture if Visit Lichfield website is successful. I know that was one that we picked up, but there were several other items that were looked at in terms of how we'd be reporting and whether that reporting mechanism was accurate and whether it was going to help us drive this through. So I'm not sure if that could potentially do with the wee words, a potential for rewording to discuss several of those items we've spoken about in terms of the accuracy of measurements and whether we're measuring the right thing.
Okay, we're getting nods from the front, so that is registered. Back to Councillor Norman.
Well, if that was obviously nodding, that's fine with me then. It's good. Item 9 then. Item 9, work programme and forward plan, where people ask for things to be put on the work programme, follow the procedure for items, test to see if they're worth scrutinising, or at least worth time scrutinising. Item 10 was the exclusion of the public and press, and that was because there's some notes from one of the task groups in that item there. That is my report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Norman. We'll go on to item 7, which is the Employment Committee. Call on Councillor Matthews to propose that.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the Employment Committee on the 1st of June 2022 be received and, where necessary, approved and adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a second for that? Anybody from the employment committee? I will. Councillor Robertson, thank you.
It's hard, I'll pick it up.
Would you like to go through, Councillor Matthews?
Thank you, Chair. Present, item 1, apologies for absence. Item 2, declarations of interest. Item 3, minutes of previous meeting. Item 4, being a better council programme. That's the severance policy report. Item 5, exclusion of press and public. And then in private, item 6, confidential minutes of the last meeting. That concludes the minutes.
Okay, can we take those minutes as received? Thank you. Item 8 is the minutes of the planning committee. Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the planning committee meeting on the 9th of May and also on the 6th of June 2022 be received and where necessary approved and adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. I will need a seconder for that as well. Councillor Powell.
Yes, I'll second that, Chairman.
Okay. Say these by page number. Starting with the ones on the 9th of May. First page number is 21. Any comments on 21? Page 22. Page 23. And the minutes as a whole. Okay. Go on to planning committee of 6th of June, page 24. Page 25. Okay, minutes as a whole, that's accepted, thank you.
Well, might be there.
It's the heat of it. Item 9 is the minutes of the regulatory and licensing committee, and this is Councillor Brian Yates.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the meeting held on the 16th of June and the 20th of June 2022 be received and where necessary approved and adopted. Thank you.
Do we have a second, Councillor Salter?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm happy to second both.
Councillor Yates, if you take them through minute by minute, please.
I'm sorry, it's the first time I've ever been asked to do that, and I don't have the copy in front of me, Chair. You changed the procedure for me and no one's told me.
I'll do it then.
Thank you very much.
Item 1 is apologies for absence. Item 2, exclusion of press and public. Item 3, declarations of interest. Item 4, payment licenses. Item 5. No, that's it. So minutes as a whole. Thank you. Item 10 is the MTFS, and this is the one for Councillor Strachan to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. I'll try and keep this quick with my emails.
Oh, sorry, there was 2 sets of minutes. I didn't do the second set. Okay, this is the minutes of the 20th of June. Item 5, apologies for absence. Item 6, declaration of interest. Item 7, the minutes of the previous meeting. Item 8, proposed version of a footpath. Parish of Whittington. Item 9, the version of a public footpath in the parish of Elford. Item 10 is the version of a footpath in Maidstone Woodware. 11, just on community governance review. Item 12, the work programme, and that's the minutes as a whole. Are we happy with that? No. Okay. We'll now go on to item 10, which is the MTFS. Over to you, Councillor Strachan.
Thank you, Chairman. As I said, I'll try and keep this quick because I'm aware it's very warm in here. This is the initial pass of the medium-term financial strategy on its progress towards hopeful approval in February. Last night, Chairman Cabinet approved the key principles of our assumptions as well as agreeing to kick off the statutory consultation, which I would anticipate should begin later this week. Tonight's paper, Chairman, seeks a commitment of £1,263,000 to our strategic priorities. I have at this stage to move an amendment to the recommendation that you'll see at 2.1, which is to add at the end the phrase "and any other capital investment such as digital support and further apprenticeships that will enable the delivery of council priorities." Chairman, the main movement in this is from the fully costed proposed severance scheme as part of being a better council, which was presented to the Employment Committee on the 1st of June 2022, who kindly gave it their ratification. The remainder relates to further expansion of our digital infrastructure, and I would commend to members the very good facilities that we see in the conference room, in which I look forward to using as we move to hopefully closer hybridization of meetings, and to an expansion of our apprenticeships. We have an extremely exciting apprenticeship scheme here at Lichfield, some of whom in fact are here tonight and also attended Cabinet yesterday, although what they learned I'm not entirely sure. And Chairman, I look forward very much to following those apprentices' progress towards a potential career in local government. As I say, this is the first pass of the MTFS. It does contain a fairly major revision, but that revision is costed, and I move that it be adopted tonight, Chairman.
Could I just check whether we have the amendment recorded? Is that recorded by officers? Are we happy with that one? We've got a copy of that, okay. Can I have a seconder for that with the amendment? Yes, Chairman, I'm seconding. Councillor Powell is seconding. Councillor White?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would it be possible for the cabinet member just to rerun through the proposed amendments and just ask the question, is that amendment capped? Is there some form of control over that, or is it unlimited and we just get to find out how much is spent in due course? Because obviously, that would be a concern. And Mr. Chairman, if I might say, I'm rather disappointed that Councillor Strachan hasn't taken up the opportunity to take up a few layers, because rumour has it he's got a mankini under that.
No, there's a thought to get us all on.
Well, yes, I haven't taken any layers off, because if I did, you'd all see I hadn't ironed my shirt. No, Chairman, that proposed amendment is capped. So that the effect would be that it spends the remainder of that budget, which I would anticipate that somebody at that end of the table will tell me precisely how much is left in it. And if, of course, there is anything that reaches a level that I need to bring it back here, then I will, of course, do so and undertake to do so tonight.
Councillor White, I think we're suggesting you just repeat the amendment.
Yes, sir. The amendment is after 3.23 to add "and any other capital investment such as digital support and further apprenticeships that will enable the delivery of council priorities." I will keep it within budget.
Okay, that has been proposed and seconded now. Is anybody wants to speak on that? Item, Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully it's a very brief one, and I'm aware the cabinet may not have the number directly in front of him, so I'd be happy to take the answer via email if at all possible. I note that we have revised upwards the projected base rate across the following few years. But do we yet have a figure on what that's done to our revenue budget?
Councillor Robertson's right. I don't have that number at my fingertips. I will write to him.
Thank you, Councillor Strachan. Any other comments on that item? Yes, Councillor Baldwin.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I hope you and members won't mind if I remain seated. I've been advised that's the best policy. The reason I'm in the naughty corner along with Councillor Baker is because our partners have tested positive for COVID, and we are both tested negative, but we've been advised to be here. I'll stop breathing if you like, Councillor Grange. No, on page 36, I note that the approved funding gap is increasing year on year, and the projected general reserves are reducing year on year, as one would expect. The one's increasing and the reduces. I just wonder what the cabinet member feels about that, whether he's got any concerns about it, and what we might do to close that funding gap. And secondly, on Appendix B, the level of uncertainty risk on developing prosperity, a good council, enabling people, those key priorities on a strategic plan. I note there's a relatively small number on developing prosperity. And if we don't do more to develop prosperity, then surely we won't have the income that's needed to make this a better area, never mind a better council. We're spending considerable amounts on becoming a good council, and I certainly commend that. But that seems a bit inward looking, and we should be looking perhaps more outwardly. So I'd like the cabinet members' views on that, please. Thank you.
Councillor Strachan.
Well, Chairman, in terms of what I feel about the widening funding gap and diminishing reserves, I've become rather used to it because it's been that case ever since I've been the portfolio holder. And so I feel familiarity with it, Councillor Ball. It is, as ever, the case of this authority that although we commit funding to capital projects, we never build in a return on those projects until that return can be more accurately costed. And at the moment, with the changes on their way through, we're not able to fully cost the returns of those capital investments that we are moving towards. In terms of the developing prosperity budget, I will of course have a conversation with the cabinet member when he returns. It is, I believe, small because there are few projects within that that are actually ready to go. And again, on the other side of the table, we don't build a project into our MTFS until that project is ready to go and we've got much more familiarity with how those figures are going to look. And so I hope that answers Councillor Ball's questions. This is going to be an emerging document as we go through the next 5 or 6 months. And so I look forward to putting a bit more flesh on the bone next time this comes to council.
Okay, Councillor Ball, yeah. Any other questions or comments on item 10, the MTFS? No? Okay, can we take the recommendation as amended? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 11 is appointment to the Staffordshire Sustainability Board. I think Councillor Pullen has a recommendation here.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to appoint Councillor Delarue to the Staffordshire Sustainability Board. Thank you.
Okay, and is that seconded by Councillor Marshall?
Chairman, yes, it is. I'm great pleasure it's seconded. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Right, all those in favour? Right, anybody against? That's carried. Item 12, I'm fairly confident we won't get through in about 5 minutes. It is 10:20 according to that clock. So I think this is a convenient time to have a 5-minute break. And the whole idea behind the 5-minute break is to get another glass of water if you want to, and not to wander too far away. We'll start in 10:20.